completion of one phase of your lives and a send-off as we watch with pride you're beginning a life of discovery. And the commencement speech, well, it should not be remembered by its length, but for its message and substance. So, that said, my promise to you is that I will employ the 3S technique that I learned from my husband, which is to stand up, speak up, and shut up. So today, with the turn of your tassel, you will begin to create your legacy. Now you're likely thinking, legacy? I just want to enjoy not having to pay attention to the next assignment on the syllabus. I know that feeling of accomplishment and of completion. But in fact, your journey has just begun, and it will be what you make it. Recently, I was asked the question, what lessons would you tell your 25-year-old self? I gave that question a lot of thought, and since we can't turn back the hands of time, and I'm privileged to stand in this spot today, I will pass those lessons on to you, since I'm certain that all of you are closer to 25 than I ever will be again. So lesson number 1, life truly is a marathon, so don't sprint through it. We all recognize that life is a marathon, but far too often we complete the marathon through a series of sprints. We can be so focused on the outcome that we miss the enjoyment of the journey. Now, I'm not a marathon runner, but I know that during a marathon, the athlete experiences both highs and lows. The first thing they do is prepare for the race. The night before, they eat the proper nutrition, fueling their body with carbohydrates that will take them from beginning to end. So I guess the sub-lesson out of this is that carbs are your friend. But on the following day, they experience that euphoria at the sound of the horn signaling the start of the race. They experience the joy of completing those first few miles with little discomfort. Then they begin to stretch themselves and lean on the months of training they've endured. They begin to feel their muscles responding and being pushed. The need for refreshment increases. Sometimes self-doubt will enter the picture through negative self-talk. I'm not good enough. I didn't train hard or long enough. Or, why am I out here at 7 a.m. in the rain trying to run 26.2 miles? They often see a wall that seems impenetrable, and they begin to employ tactics, repeating a mantra, visualizing success, thinking about a pleasurable moment or moments in their lives to help them cope with the physical realities of pushing their bodies to the limit. And just as they reach that big, hairy, audacious wall, they dig deep and find something within themselves that motivates them to go around or above the obstacle. They face the difficulty, they move beyond it, and success is in sight. The worst appears to be over. Additional refreshment aids the body. The athlete is fully connected to their physical selves. But at this point, they have transcended to a mental place that says, I got this. The runner sees the finish line and soon hears the cheering crowd and the sounds of victory. And then the body reminds them of the feat they've just accomplished and the toll it has taken. Now, there's a need for a period of recovery. During the period of recovery, the athlete has the opportunity to step back, relax, release, and renew. Life is like this marathon experience. Along the 26.2 miles, there is beauty that you need to take in. Along the 26.2 miles, there are people who will be there to help provide you with refreshment. Kindly accept their assistance because you will never finish if you go it alone. Along the 26.2 miles, there will be obstacles that will challenge your stamina and will cause you to question your ability. But for every obstacle, there's always a way around or over it. If you dig deeply and really put on your thinking caps, as the old folks used to say, you will find abilities you never knew you had. And soon, the obstacles will be in the rearview mirror. Lesson number 2, to build your character, you've got to go through something. Character is not born, it is built. Just because you now have a degree and can put a few letters behind your name, or in the case of some of you, almost an entire alphabet, does not mean you have character. Book learning does not build the integrity that comes with experience. And your character is defined by your integrity. It is the moral qualities, ethical standards, and the principles by which we live our lives. So let me tell you a story. Remember I said I was going to get back to this whole in good academic standing thing. I remember sitting in the stadium at the University of Dayton, waiting, or more appropriately, praying that my name would be called to walk across the stage, shake the president's hand, and receive my diploma. It was April 1981. I, like all my fellow graduates, went to the ROTC building to pick up my cap and gown. I was beaming from ear to ear. It was all finished but the shout. I walked up to the woman at the table and gave her my name. Terry Lee, I said, with much anticipation to receive that beautiful black cap and gown. She looked at her list, because there were no computers. No comments, please. She looked at her list, she scrolled across, and then she looked up at me with a smirk, I might add, and delivered these words. You're not graduating. You have not satisfactorily completed your political science class. Well, I could literally feel the blood drain from my face. Panic washed over me, and I responded, no, you don't understand. My mother and grandfather will be here next weekend. I've got to graduate or they're going to kill me. She then politely handed me a printout with the class I was obviously failing. And it just happened to be a class I took with my then boyfriend, now husband of almost 30 years in just a couple of weeks. I ran to his apartment, and as the tears flowed down my face, I hysterically explained my situation to him, and he responded thusly. I told you you needed to take that class seriously. It was not exactly the response I wanted to hear. So my next step was to go to my professor, eat a whole lot of crow, and figure out how I might convince him to let them give me a diploma. It took the reading of approximately a half of a textbook and significant writing assignments within 48 hours to get the hardest fought C known to man. When my name was called on that Saturday in April, I thanked God and vowed that accomplishing the task at hand would never be something I would put off ever again. That was my first true character building experience, and I'm a better person for having dealt with this adverse situation. Now, she's not here now, but she was here this morning. My mother was in the audience, and it was the first time she had ever heard that story. She was a little shocked, to say the least, but I told her, see, here I am, look. This is what can happen if you don't pass a class. Well, I got through. I'm thankful also, though, that I have a couple of my daughters here, and they can tell you that during their time at home, anytime they had to go through something difficult, anytime they had a failure, anytime they experienced rejection, anytime they were fourth on the list and there were only 3 places, I would tell them to chalk it up to character building. You see, to really develop character, you got to go through something. And the more difficult, the better. Let me illustrate it this way. What we think of as bread only develops those characteristics after the yeast is proofed, the dry and wet ingredients are combined, and the dough is kneaded, rested, and often kneaded again before being shoved into a hot oven But after 30 minutes or so, what we have is a beautifully delicious loaf of homemade bread, which can often steal the show at the dinner table. For bread to become bread, it must go through something. Our lives are very similar. At this point on your journey, with the help of your family and the University of Memphis, you have the raw materials to become bread. In fact, I'm certain your yeast has been proofed. And some of you may have begun to mix the dry and wet ingredients. But trust me, the real kneading is yet to begin. And while you may have danced around a microwave or a toaster oven, trust me, there's a double oven in your future that will be set to broil, bake, or time cook. And the character development you will gain from those experiences will help you learn how to deal with adversity. Remember, there is no shame in failure, but in not acknowledging the failure and learning from it. A Zen master describes it as such: human actions have many faults and errors. This is something that neither the wise or foolish can avoid. Yet it is only the wise who can correct their faults and change to good, whereas the foolish mostly conceal their faults and cover up their wrongs. Lesson 3, perfection is best left to a higher power. As you continue along your journey with its many twists and turns, you will find that sometimes you are in the driver's seat, and at other times you are simply a passenger on the ride. There will be times when you will give 100% and those around you will applaud your hard work and effort. Other times, that same 100% will get you no recognition. It is in those times where you might challenge yourself to work to what you see as perfection. Complete the project ahead of schedule, under budget, and without any assistance, and deliver it to your boss with a nice red bow. But at what cost? Possibly in pushing so hard to achieve perfection, you've isolated yourself from friends, family, or colleagues. Or maybe you've pushed so hard that you've sacrificed your morning run or your afternoon yoga that helped you maintain your mental edge and your physical stamina. Or you've been burning the midnight oil and your perfect project is filled with imperfections simply because you were tired. My point here is that it will be tempting as you move into the next phase of life to want to strive for perfection and get that perfect 100% on everything that you do. But I would encourage you to set your own bar, always doing your best, striving for excellence, but not perfection. You'll have a lot less disappointment. Lesson number 4, write your own documentary. At the National Civil Rights Museum, I have the opportunity to meet incredible people who have accomplished or endured incredible things. People like Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, a white woman who chose to put her very life on the line to integrate lunch counters and interstate travel when she was a college student. People like the mother of Trayvon Martin, who lost her 17-year-old son to a murderer found not guilty of killing her unarmed child. Or Judge Damon Keith, a 93-year-old sitting federal judge who in his lifetime forced the desegregation of schools, equitable housing policy, and equal access to employment. Each of these individuals, like you and me, had to make the decision to do the right thing. And each of them made that decision recognizing the public humiliation, taunting, and some instances terror that would have to face them. But they followed the path of right to do something that would help someone else. The documentaries of their lives are awe-inspiring and encourage others of us to do the right thing. At this very moment, you each have the opportunity to begin to write your own documentary that will leave an indelible mark on history. So as you begin this journey of life, after the graduation parties, the graduation trips, and other celebrations, keep these 4 lessons in mind. Life is a marathon. Make sure you enjoy the 26.2 miles. Character building is often painful, but will build your mettle and is always worth it in the end. Strive for excellence, not perfection. Live your life as if you are writing your own biopic documentary. And just for extra punch, a fifth, smile a lot, maintain your sense of humor, and enjoy life. Congratulations, class of 2016. We are anticipating great things. Thank you.